All right, here we go. This is the official Draft Genius big board. And unlike last year where we had a top 50 big board, this year we're going to do something a little different and narrow the list down to 10 players. And these 10 players are the best of the best coming out in this draft, in my opinion. I believe all 10 of these guys are really talented. I believe all 10 of these guys have the ability to be stars in the NFL. Now, this won't be a list that's in any particular order. I won't rank them 1 to 10. I'll leave that to you guys to rank them 1 to 10. But like I said before, this is just a list of the guys that I believe are the cream of the crop coming out in this NFL draft. Now, my board may be different than yours. It might be different than some that you've seen out there, and that's okay as long as we can talk about it. So don't be afraid to let me know about my board down in the comments, or give me your big board. Let me know who are the 10 best guys coming out in this draft in your opinion. So without further ado, here we go. This is the Draft Genius Top 10 Big Board. Now, even though Ja'Marr Chase didn't play this past season, I still believe he put enough on film to be considered the top receiver coming out, especially in my eyes. And don't forget, he did all of this stuff as a true sophomore. He was out there as a true sophomore, and he had another first-round receiver on the other side of him, and he was still able to go out and put up the big numbers and make the plays that he did in 2019. Now, Ja'Marr Chase's accolades speak for themselves. We all know what he was able to do out there at LSU, but when you turn on the film, man, you really see how good of a receiver he is. Now, when I'm looking at receivers, I'm looking for the alpha dogs. I'm looking for the guys that go out there and get things done, the guys that just won't be denied out there on the field. And I think Ja'Marr Chase is really one of those guys. And it's not all about just the talent either. He clearly has the talent, but it's also about a mentality that you have to have out there as a receiver. The type of mentality where, hey, the ball is in the air, nobody else is coming down with that ball but me. When you have the ball in your hands after the catch, nobody's going to tackle me. Nobody's going to bring me down. I think it's that type of mentality that Ja'Marr Chase plays with, and I think that's what I love most about his game. I also love the enthusiasm and charisma that he plays out there with. You know, when you watch him on film, you can see that he's out there having fun. He makes it all look fun, and it takes it back to the days where you're playing football in the backyard with your friends. You know, he has fun out there, and I think all receivers, I think all players should play that way. So Ja'Marr Chase is a really good player. At the end of the day, game is based on making plays, and I think Ja'Marr Chase is the best playmaker coming out in this draft at the wide receiver position. Now, wide receivers, they rarely win the Heisman Trophy these days, but this past season, we got a guy that snuck in there and won the Heisman Trophy at receiver. Devontae Smith had a spectacular season, and he pretty much was the catalyst for that Alabama offense. In my opinion, he's such a skilled receiver. He's very skilled. He has elite speed. He's an elite route runner. He has great hands, and he also offers some versatility out there on the field at receiver. So he gives you all of that on the field. And, you know, while Ja'Marr Chase is more of a physical presence out there and he plays with a lot of energy and charisma, I think Smith is more of a finesse type of guy, and he doesn't say much. He goes out there, he just constantly gets open, and he makes plays, gets back in the huddle, and does it all over again. So I think it's interesting that those two guys are probably the best receivers coming out, and their styles are so different than one another. Some people might have Smith as the number one receiver, and if it weren't for Ja'Marr Chase, he'd probably be my number one guy as well. But regardless of that, when he's out there on the field, he's hard to contain, and he's constantly making plays. Some people are going to be concerned about the weight and the size because he's about 6 feet, 6'1", 170 pounds, but I don't really see it as an issue. When you have a guy like Devontae Smith that has the skill set that he has, he's going to be good regardless, and I think that's going to be the case for Devontae Smith at the next level. Now, Zach Wilson has probably had the biggest rise of anyone up the draft boards over the past year or so. Last year, nobody was talking about this guy. Nobody knew who he was. And this year, he's going to potentially be the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. So he's had a meteoric rise. And when you turn on the film of BYU, you see exactly why that's happened. He's got everything you want out there at quarterback. He's got a live arm. He's accurate. But the thing that stands out to me the most when I watch Zach Wilson is the creativity that he plays with. It's almost like backyard football in a way when he's out there on the field. He's very creative. He moves around the pocket very well, and he can get rid of the ball from a variety of different angles and from anywhere on the field. So overall, he's just a really fun quarterback to watch, and what he's out there doing on the field is where the quarterback position is headed. Teams want a guy that can go out there and make those throws from all types of angles, and they want guys that can go out there and move around. And Zach Wilson is a guy that can go out there and do all of that stuff. Now, is Zach Wilson the best quarterback coming out in this draft? My answer to that is it depends. It depends on who you ask. It depends on the situation he's going into. But at the end of the day, watch this guy play. You'll see the talent there. You'll see the ability that he has at the quarterback position. And I don't think anyone could deny it that Zach Wilson is a damn good player out there. Now, Justin Fields, he's easily the most polarizing player coming out in this draft, hands down, if you ask me. You got a group of people that just doesn't think he's quite ready. They think there's still some issues in his game, some flaws in his game that need to be worked out. You also have a group of people that just thinks he's a future Hall of Famer. Now, I'm somewhere in the middle. I recognize that he does have some things in his game that he can work on and get better at. But at the same time, he's a baller. And he's gone out there and he's proven that to us on many different occasions. So I'll put it to you like this. So with Justin Fields, you're getting a guy that has the talent. He has the ability. He can throw the ball with the best of them. He probably has the best arm of all the quarterbacks coming out in this draft. And he's also a really good athlete that can add that dimension to your offense. And he did all of this stuff at Ohio State under the biggest spotlight and against some of the top competition in this country. He's done it against the Clemsons. He's done it against the Alabamas. So I think that stuff needs to be taken into consideration because I think it matters at the end of the day. Now, is Justin Fields perfect? No. I don't think any of these guys coming out are perfect, but nobody can deny the ability that he has. He has the talent. He has a proven track record. He's a baller, and he's a winner. Justin Fields checks all of those boxes, and if you're a team that values that and you need a guy to come in at the quarterback position that checks those boxes, then Justin Fields is sitting right there. Now, this is a no-brainer with this guy. Penei Sewell, he just does everything well. And if you're a team that needs a tackle, this guy is who you should be going with. He's very good in pass pro. He moves his feet well. He moves laterally very well. He's also a bully in the run game, and he's athletic enough to climb and cut off linebackers that are scraping over the top trying to make plays. He's athletic enough to get out there in the screen game and block defenders in space, and I just think he does everything extremely well. So if you're a team that needs a tackle, there's no need to overthink it on this one. If you draft this guy, he's going to go out there and he's going to be a starter day one, and he's going to be out there for at least a decade giving you some quality offensive line play. He's just really that good, and I think it would be a crime if he's not the first offensive lineman taken in this upcoming draft. Patrick Surtain is just another no-brainer for me if you're a team looking for a defensive back. And notice I said defensive back. I didn't say corner. I didn't say safety. I said defensive back because I think the elite guys coming out, they should be able to play all of those positions. I think Patrick Surtain is a guy that has that type of ability. Now, he has the NFL pedigree. We all know about that. His dad played in the NFL for years, so he has that in his favor. He has elite physical traits, 6'2", 200 plus pounds. So I think he is going to match up better against bigger receivers than a smaller corner would, obviously. He also has the skill set as well. He has the speed, has the quickness, has the fluidity in his movements. And he's also played a lot of football, folks. 38 consecutive starts under his belt at Alabama. He's played in every single game since he's been on campus. So he's got a lot of experience under his belt, and he's got that experience at probably the highest level of college football playing out there in the SEC. So I feel like he's not getting the respect he deserves, but in my opinion, he's the cream of the crop when it comes to defensive backs coming out in this draft. And if you need one, you should strongly consider taking this guy. Now, some people think that this guy is the best offensive weapon in the draft. And I wouldn't go that far, but he's still a great player, no doubt. And I don't think anybody could deny that. Now, we all know the deal. He's a matchup nightmare. He's too fast for the big guys to run with him, too big for the small guys to handle him. He can make plays from the slot. He can also make plays on the outside as a receiver. He's got a great catch radius, and he's 6'6" and about 240 pounds. So it's going to be tough for anyone to go out there and just stop him from getting the ball. So his ability as a receiver and his ability as a playmaker are clearly the best parts of his game. The only criticism, the only legit criticism that I would have of him is the fact that he's not dominant as a blocker, specifically in the run game. Now, it would be nice if he were like a Gronk or a George Kittle in that area, but he's just not that. That doesn't mean he can't do the job at all, though. It's just something that he needs to work on and needs to become more consistent with. In my opinion, if Kyle Pitts lands on the right team, if he lands on a team that's willing to utilize him heavily in the pass game, then I think we might be seeing one of the next greats at the tight end position. Now, Trey Lands, he's an interesting prospect because he was a guy that went out there in 2019 and had one of the most efficient quarterback seasons I've seen or even heard of. He went out there and threw for over 2,700 yards, 28 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. And you rarely see that. I don't think I've ever seen a quarterback just go out there at the collegiate level and go out there and throw 0 interceptions. So he went out there and did that. Also led the team in rushing with 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns on the ground. But in 2020, he only played one game and didn't have that great of a game. Had a little rust. Looked like the offense wasn't in sync. And really didn't do much the last time we seen him play. Did some things at the end of that game, but overall just not great. But the thing about Trey Lands is that the talent is there. He has a tremendous amount of talent. He has all the arm talent. He can definitely make all the throws. He's also a tremendous athlete. He has a great frame. He's a big body quarterback. And outside of a one-game showcase, pretty much everything that he's put on film has been quality play. Now, there's definitely going to be some concerns as far as level competition, as there should be. I mean, that stuff matters when we're looking at these guys. I truly do think that matters. Now, to what extent, that's up for debate, but I think it does need to be taken into consideration when evaluating these players. Another thing that might be a concern is the lack of experience that Trey Lands has. I believe he's only started 17 games in his career. And in those 17 games, he really hasn't thrown the ball a ton. I believe he's only had like one game over 30 attempts. But when they asked him to go out there and make plays in the passing game, he went out there and did it. He had some great throws all over his film. So the talent is there, but I'm just really curious to see what happens with him because there are scenarios where I could see some teams getting scared away from drafting him so high. And then there's also other scenarios where I could see him going as high as number 3. So we'll see what happens with Trey Lands, but nonetheless, he's still a tremendous player, and I do think he's one of the top prospects coming out in this draft. Now, I feel like we haven't talked about Trevor Lawrence much because pretty much everybody agrees that he's the top quarterback coming out. But in all honesty, there's not much that really needs to be said. He has all the arm talent in the world. He can throw the ball with the best of them. You see that all over his film. He can throw it deep. He throws it with touch. He throws it with accuracy. He does all those things. To go along with that, he's 6'6", a little bit over 210, 215 pounds, and he's a tremendous athlete. And I think he's honestly an underrated athlete, if you ask me. I think he doesn't get as much credit as Justin Fields or Trey Lance or even Zach Wilson, but I do think he's just as good, or if not a better athlete than all three of those guys. So Trevor Lawrence has all of the talent in the world. He has all of the ability. But the question is, can Trevor Lawrence be the next great? And he's not going to be judged like the rest of these guys. He's not going to be judged like Zach Wilson. He's not going to be judged like Mac Jones. He's going to be held to the highest standard because he's been that guy for such a long time. He's put himself in that position by being as talented and doing the things that he's done. So because he is that guy, he's going to have some tremendous expectations placed on him, especially going to a place like Jacksonville that really hasn't had a ton of success as a franchise. He's also going to a situation with a first-time NFL head coach in Urban Meyer. Now, Urban Meyer has had a ton of success on the collegiate level, but this will be his first chance at coaching in the NFL, and we all know that collegiate success doesn't necessarily translate over to the NFL. So Trevor Lawrence, he's going to have a lot on his plate, but if he's as good as we all think he is, then chances are he's going to go out there and turn that thing around in Jacksonville. And if he's able to do that, then we're probably going to be looking at the face of the NFL for the next 15 to 20 years. He's that talented, and he's going to have an opportunity to go out there and prove it. Now, the decision I had to make for this final spot on this list was very tough, and it came down to two tremendous defensive players. Those players being obviously Michael Parsons and Jalen Phillips, defensive end out of Miami. So I came to this decision by sitting down and thinking, which one of these players has the potential to be the best at their position in the NFL? And that answer was clearly Michael Parsons. And I love Jalen Phillips. I think he's a tremendous player. I think he's going to be very good. But Michael Parsons, I think the talent level at linebacker that he has is next level type of stuff. And I think one day he could be one of the better defensive players in the NFL if the cards fall in the right way. Michael Parsons is a tremendous athlete. He flies around all over the field. And, you know, when you turn on the film, the first time watching this kid, he really just pops and stands out amongst all the other players out there on the defense. Now, Penn State had him as an inside linebacker. And I think he can play there, but I think he's a guy that's talented enough for you to move him around. I think he did do some stuff off of the edge for Penn State. And I don't think he's always in the box, but I think primarily for Penn State, he was playing in the box. And I just think whatever team he goes to needs to utilize him in the proper way to take advantage of all that talent that he has, because it's there. Now, he's not perfect. He's not your perfect interior linebacker. I do think he overplays some stuff at times. I do think he's a little bit undisciplined and could get better at attacking blockers and stuff like that. But, I mean, a lot of that stuff is coaching. A lot of that stuff you can get better with repetition. But that athleticism, that effort and energy that he plays with, that's something that you can teach. And I truly think he has the potential to be one of the best defensive playmakers in the NFL. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up being the first defensive player taken in the 2021 NFL draft. Well, all right, those are the 10 guys that I think are the best prospects coming out in the 2021 NFL draft. I'm sure there's a few guys that I left off of my list that you guys probably have on your list. So let me know down in the comments. If you like this video, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.